What has amazed me most about this trip is at the pace at which they've done everything. I'm the optimist over here, and I would have expected them to take 5 years to get anywhere close to what they are. So blown away with the magnitude and the impact they're going to make. But you folks are the gurus here. I mean, what do you think? What has surprised you the most about what you've seen at Karkinos? Keith, you start.
Yeah, I think what's so amazing is that there's a patient-facing platform and a patient sample analysis platform, which are really quite distinct in terms of then what can be layered on top. What they've already integrated is kind of what I guess is table stakes in terms of how it is that you help a patient navigate their cancer journey, and then how you molecularly characterize a patient's tumor to assign them to currently available treatments. But after 18 months of building that, which is magnificent, they now can layer on the absolute most cutting edge patient-facing digital tools and characterization of patient sample platforms, not only to navigate patients to therapy, current therapies, but to discover and develop next generation therapies. There is no organization on the planet that pulls together all of those capabilities with free flow of data across patient care and molecular characterization research platforms.
You're as excited as I am now, Keith.
This environment literally integrates all of the things we have been trying to assemble in our own academic medical centers in the U.S. and across academic centers in the U.S. So, literally a career's worth of intent to assemble these capabilities, and we're really not all that close to being able to do it, and we will never have the free flow of information between clinical care and research environments the way that this one organization has established.
Right. Mitesh, you're at the second best medical college in America after Harvard. What do you think? What have you observed?
Like Keith, I'm blown away too. Things that we can only conceptualize have been done in the span of just months here. I would have thought years when I first heard about the idea. And it seems to stem from this ability to just not focus on physical infrastructure as much and focus on the digital infrastructure and what it can actually accomplish, and be able to deliver care close to home for patients, which again has been an aspiration in the developed and Western world. And here we're seeing that it's going to happen and is already happening to some degree. So I'm super excited to see how quickly things have come together here.
Aparna, you probably put in more time and effort into guiding Karkinos than all of us have, because you've been meeting them regularly, you've been guiding them through it. So what's most exciting to you?
I think the speed, right? So you give the Karkinos team, here's an SOP for how we're going to collect samples and best practices, and they have executed it in a hot second. And the rapidity that they're able to accomplish, all the discussions, again, that we've chatted around that take years to implement in our institutions is incredible.
Right.
I think the Karkinos model is going to be a model for not just India, but how to take care of patients, I think, across the world. And they have captured patients at every entry point into the patient journey. And I think we'll also one of the other things that excites me the most is the ability to learn a lot on the early detection piece. They're capturing 300,000 patients screened in less than 18 months, and they're capturing bio data on all of those normal patients too, and are going to be able to follow those patients, many of which will ultimately have a cancer diagnosis too. So I think a lot of the tools and discovery may happen also on the early detection end, which I think will be transformational.
Just want to quickly build on the rest of the world part of what you said. I mean, it is equally clear to me that this is a model that's going to teach the West, US and Europe, and Pacific Rim best practices and how to operate and what they need to fix in their own environments and regulatory limitations to enable this kind of platform approach. And it's going to inform the developing world I mean, this is, it faces in both directions. I mean, there are aspects, particularly the remote care piece and bringing technology to patients where they are, this is the solution that's needed for Africa and other far-flung places.
And even for America, I mean.
Agreed. No, we have all of these anguished discussions for the past 2+ years in the United States about how to increase access to care, and we don't have the tools to do it.
And the retention of care, the 80% of retention once they've accessed the patient. I mean, we struggle with that level of retention from, especially for certain populations in the U.S., even once they're diagnosed with the cancer. So I was also blown away with just their ability in a short period of time to retain patients in care too.
Wow. Gary, you've dedicated your life to cancer. I mean, as the CEO of the American Cancer Society, I know how passionate you were and how much of your life you put into this thing. What have you seen and observed, over the last 2 years, and in particular on this journey to India?
Yeah, well, as they say, Vivek, seeing is believing. And being here at Karkinos and just seeing the incredible progress that's been made in such a short period of time. And the thing I'm most excited about is the patients, because the patients are going to be the beneficiaries of this, not only in India, but in other places around the world, and I would say back in the U.S. I mean, to build a seamless, integrated system like this, where you can follow the patient through their entire cancer journey, is incredible, and that's what's needed, and that's what's needed for every cancer patient out there, and that's what Karkinos has built, and I'm just truly excited to be part of it, to be a very, very small part of it, but it's like a dream come true, because the challenges that we've had in the U.S. and the Western world, as far as being able to do this in a seamless, not being able to do it, we are able to do it here, and it's going to make a huge difference for patients.
But Gary, can you say a little bit more about this issue of overcoming concerns about sort of trust, ability for patients to trust in institutions and entities and physicians, care providers. There's something that seems to be kind of magic running in the water here, where Karkinos is able to go to rural environments and overnight set up a screening project and engage people who have not been consistently engaged by the healthcare system, and not at all about cancer. So you've watched attempts to up our game in terms of screening, awareness raising in urban environments, rural environments, and we have such a hard time gaining trust in so many of those regions, but they seem to be kind of running through tissue paper here in terms of being able to gain that trust.
Right. No, it's actually remarkable, and it's so critical, and the community outreach that Karkinos has, and the way that they're doing it, through through churches, through organizations, through through the cities and the communities, and to your point, the people are lining up to be engaged, and that's so critical, because as we know, awareness is number one, and prevention, early detection. The sooner we can do that, the greater the likelihood of a successful outcome. And to your point, I mean, here it's they're doing it with ease, and so there is a huge trust there for the patients, to get engaged, which is going to be significant in the outcomes. And I think in some of in the U.S., that same level of trust doesn't exist, for numerous reasons. But here it's not, does not seem to be an issue at all.
Even the language choice, I really liked for their navigators, they use the word care mitra,
yes.
right? So K with the, or care with the C, or care with the K. But again, the patient-centeredness and the humanism that's anchored around the patient experience is, like you said, it's in the water, and that's palpable.
Yeah, and I tell you one thing that I was so impressed with, and am impressed with, is the command center, because I have seen numerous times. I mean, when you get a cancer diagnosis, first of all, I mean, you're just blown away and you don't hear half of what's being said after that. But then to try to navigate through the system and to find out where to go, when to go, what to do, and to be reassured that that's the right step is a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge, you know, for anyone. But here to have Karkinos, to have a command center where they're basically holding the patient's hand all the way through the entire journey is unheard of. But it's exactly what's needed.
And it's not
to have-
suboptimal care, right? They're, as we talked about, they're trying to bring in the best of the best.
Oh,
to
absolutely. Yeah.
guide with the expert opinions.
Yeah,
And
to make sure that the patient's getting the treatment or the care that they need at that point in time in their journey, and the best care that's available.
but close to home.
Yes, and close to home.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point about cancer centers. So last year was 50 years of the National Cancer Act in the United States, and the thrust was to have physically large cancer centers where patients had to go and where you would have assembled expertise to get care. This clearly looks like a fantastic new model where the cancer center doesn't have a small catchment area. You can have it influence the whole country or even, you know, large parts of the world, and not have the patient have to go to the physical structure, but take the cancer center to the patient. It's amazing what's already been done.
Right. You know, we're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, be able to meet the Prime Minister Narendra Modi this Friday. And, you know, I don't know how much time we're going to get with him, but if you had to send him a message, what would that be, Keith?
It's hard to pick just a few words or talking points, but I guess the most powerful thing for me to communicate is what's happening behind the curtain. So the patient-facing aspects, I think that story will tell itself. But what this team has done in terms of establishing a tissue procurement, tissue, I mean tumor, but blood, urine, any analyte, and an ability to, in a modular way, adopt sort of current standard of care technologies paired with a leading edge research approach. So to analyze the same specimen, right, for immediate patient care purposes, but for discovery purposes as well, discovery of biomarkers to better navigate patients and risk stratify them, but also to inform next generation precision oncology or targeted therapy development. So to actually understand Indian cancers in a way that allows discovery to some degree, but particularly development/deployment of therapies that we would have no idea are needed in this population. That's going to all happen quietly, sort of in R&D mode, while, you know, in front of the curtain, the patient is being taken care of with most cutting edge technologies, diagnostic/therapeutic technologies. And so to be able to do both of those things, that's the trick that hasn't been pulled off in any other environment. And it seems to me that they can essentially bear the burden of actually simultaneously investigating multiple new approaches, right? Not playing favorites, not making calls in advance of being able to having the data needed to be able to make a call about a new diagnostic approach or new molecular analysis approach or new drug discovery tool. They can kind of, again, behind the curtain, replace an entire platform with a new one, you know, that they don't need to build. I mean, they can borrow and partner and collaborate with other entities in India, international entities. I mean, again, all of this, you know, very kind of, you know, behind the scenes while providing, you know, cutting edge world-class care in far-flung environments. I mean, this is, you know, that's too many words for the Prime Minister, but I'm using this chance to get that many words out.
The way I would simplify it is that this will allow India to leapfrog the rest of the world in medical research. It'll position it as a center of gravity for some of the most advanced research into cancer and then into other fields within this decade. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, there's nothing, oncology, I think, is as widely appreciated, has led the way in terms of pairing molecular understanding of disease with treatment. So-called precision medicine, I mean, invented in oncology, if you will. But there's nothing about this model that wouldn't be relevant for other disease states. I mean, it's the same basic platform approach is what's needed elsewhere. And again, it's just return to that use of the term modular. I mean, one can imagine that cardiovascular disease, neurologic disease, inflammatory disease units will just simply be customization of aspects of the platform, but will ultimately, the same architecture and the same central team and data analysis methods and team will be equally powerful in those venues. But charging, it's very clear to me that charging very briskly to the leading edge in oncology is going to be the way to demonstrate this leapfrog potential.
Absolutely. Gary, you get to say the last word in simple English, your message to the Prime Minister of India.
My message would simply be that Karkinos has been able to achieve here in India what we can only dream of achieving in the United States. And for that reason, India is in a position to have a huge impact on cancer, on patients, and to use your term, to leapfrog what's ahead of the U.S. and everyone else as far as advancing care in cancer treatment.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.